please, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience and maybe give a short explanation, introduction on yourself? Who are you, and how did you come along, or how did you get in contact to Jen, especially the Augur group? How did you come in? How did you get involved into all this organization stuff?
Sure. So I'm Fran Whitlock. I'm from the UK, and I'm the communications manager at Gen Europe. I was working for a number of years in climate change and environmental campaigns, which was really enriching, but also very frustrating, because it felt like we were dealing with problems that were so big in a way that felt like just chipping away at the edges. And I also felt that the life I was living wasn't coherent with the things that I was working on. So I started looking for ways that that people were living, examples in the real world of how people were actually living out these values of, caring for the environment, really living in a way that's coherent with fighting climate change and a kind of more regenerative world. And I, by chance, I quit my job and started searching. I ended up in a eco-village in New Zealand, which was my first kind of opening up to this different way of living. And that took me on a journey eventually to Spain. And I got more involved in the Iberian Ecovillage Network and discovered that there was a whole network of eco-villages across Europe, which was Gen Europe. And that was my first contact, and through a very fortunate series of circumstances, I ended up in the north of Spain, Arterra, which is where the offices of Gen Europe are based, and I was able to use my background in environmental communications to support the work of Gen Europe and kind of share the message of eco-villages around Europe.
Thank you. Can you give a short introduction? What is Gen?
So Gen, the Global Ecovillage Network, is a network of regional and national organizations all around the world that connect communities that are working towards a regenerative future. So there are eco-villages across the world that are communities of people who, in different ways, are focusing on the 4 dimensions of sustainability. So that's the social, ecological, economic, and cultural. And they're people who have just come together to live in a more coherent way, a more holistic way that's caring for people and the planet. And what what specifically Gen Europe does is connect those communities in Europe and really create a movement. So instead of these being isolated pockets of people living differently and working for a different world, it really lifts the voice of the people who are doing that and creates a network that can be represented in all sorts of arenas, from the UN to the EU to national parliaments, to really bring the voice of people who are living and working in a different way.
Okay. How many people and nations coming together on Gen meeting?
So this Gen Europe gathering, which is the 22nd this year, that will be happening in Estonia, we expect people from, we expect around 500 people from all across the world, from almost every country in Europe. And we know that there'll be representatives from Australia, from Africa, from the United States, I think from every continent except Antarctica. No eco-villages in Antarctica yet, but we're working on it.
Maybe gonna start now. Yeah, and which highlights, workshops, speakers do you recommend to our audience? Why should we visit the meeting?
The meeting for me is really one of the highlights of the year. It's not just a place to hear inspirational speakers and learn about a different way of living, but it's really a chance to connect with hundreds of people who are really deeply involved in informing a better world. It's people who are really walking their talk and in hundreds of different ways, making the world a better place. And it's a really incredible place to network and meet with these people. I'm really looking forward to hearing Vandana Shiva speak about how important communities are for creating a more sustainable world. And she'll talk about her work over many decades with community-led initiatives in India. I'm also really looking forward to hearing Gunter Pauli speak about the blue economy and how we can really, how economy and ecology are not separate, and that there can be new and different ways of doing things that bring together in harmony the economic and the ecological. But I think most of all, I'm really looking forward to just mingling with hundreds of people from around the world who are really curious about living differently and brimming with ideas for how we can do that.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
great.
Thank you. Yes.
And I'm really grateful that that you guys are so interested and that you're coming. I think I was really happy, as I said, to get the request, and I think it's going to be really lovely to have you there. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Are you guys coming from Berlin?
Yeah, close to Berlin. We're living close to Berlin.
I'll definitely be people coming from there.
Okay.
Okay, well, it was really lovely to meet you both, and yeah, we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, stay in touch and see you at the conference.
See you in Estonia. Great, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Come to the soccer wave. Come to the soccer wave.